This is going to be methods that athletes can use and wrestlers can use, any athlete, in sports psychology, tactics. So, the number one tactic that we're going to discuss here, the first thing on the list I have is journaling, something that you were taught at a young age in a sports school. And I think that journaling is probably the most basic sports psychology method that's underutilized here in the West, or not utilized really at all, or taught. But you guys were taught how to journal, and it was something that you did with your coach, and the coach coached you on this so you could become more mindful of the processes. So let's just start there, and I want to hear a little bit about that, best practices in journaling, and then let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. So I think to put it in a perspective, the long-term athlete development requires also progressive psychological development of an athlete. We also will discuss today some of the most sophisticated experimental methods of psychological improvement and psychological control, testing and correction. But for athletes to be able to really work well with the coach and with the psychologist, they need to ideally start early and start with the basics. So the basics is one of the basics is your diaries. These are, I just found my diaries. So these are the 4 years of high school.
Wow.
These are four last years of high school, ending in 1985. Okay. So that's I'm just going through them now. I haven't seen them for a while, but the funny thing is that I refer to them in my writings for a lot of historical facts, as well as my my condition and my performance after I use certain methods of training, certain methods of resting. I just looked at through them, I think last year, and checked where I was sick, when I was sick, what were the months that preceding common illnesses, colds, flus, viruses that I suffered from with temperature, and when I missed. And in most cases, it was overtraining. I was just big volumes of too much of endurance work that was just too many miles of running and swimming, basically. But there were other things that I noticed in my diaries, and I noted that mistakes that I made in my lifestyle and in the training process. But if I look at the first one, you can even see progression of an athlete from the first one to the fourth one. The first one has a very detailed a recording of what was done, just basically what I have done today, what the coach told me to do, how many meters to swim, all the program written down carefully, what I was given to do, right? Also anthropometry, my measurements of all parts of my body, recording of my pulse, recording of my morning pulse, and then recording of basically what happened to me, as opposed to the latest one that is more analytical, more I'd say just deeper commenting, and less focus on me, more focused on opponents, and a lot of descriptions of how I performed in relation to different conditions and in relation to my reactions to opponents and what opponents do and how the competition interacted with my performance. A lot deeper. Now, the first diary that I'm looking, it has a lot of signatures of a coach. Basically, a coach signed it saying, "Done it. I read it. You're doing it. Good." Or, why didn't you record this? Why didn't you miss this? Okay. So basically, a lot of monitoring comments from the coach, trying to get me into the habit of detailing everything that I'm doing, and then the last one, there are no coach comments, meaning that I've been doing all this for myself after I got into the habit of it, and a lot of if you look at the details of everyday writing, it is I draw schemes, and I paint what I've been doing, and how and when I was doing my horseback riding route, which obstacle I broke, or the horse smashed the obstacle or touched it. So why there was a mistake on this on this obstacle that I failed to overcome, or I broke, and where I lost points on. Quite a lot of still everything that I've been doing, and my results, my performance results, but a lot of feelings, a lot more feelings of how I felt during each training and each competition period, trying to document mistakes and understand them, so that before the next competition I look back and I do not make the same mistakes. So this is a very quick sketch of the diaries that I have, and how the coach got me into using them. Mandatory every day. Bring it on the table while you're practicing. I'm gonna check what you've written for yesterday.
I mean, to me, that's fascinating, Peter, because that's really foreign, I think, to a lot of Americans. I don't know that you were ever coached up on that from a coach perspective, Kyle, on how you have to journal everything. First of all, I like the progression from when you were a ninth grader. It would be equivalent to a ninth grader here, where you were taught, let's just do monitoring of what's happening to your body. So start writing down your volume, your intensity. Start writing down, take your heart rate, simple things, how many hours you were able to sleep, maybe rate your sleep, just very, very basic. I'm sure it was, how your body felt, maybe injuries, things like that, pains, but then it progressed. And I liked how you said that the coach was taking notes and signing off. Why did you not, but why didn't you include this, or why didn't you explain this? So that process over that 4-year period, you were learning how to go deeper, to get more in depth, and then how to think about strategies and techniques and analyze your performance. And they didn't have to do that anymore because you'd reached a level where it became habit, like you said. And I mean, that is high level. To me, the sports psychology is being taken care of as far as coaching in that process, because you become way more cognitive of what's happening to you in everything. You're looking at everything that's going on, and you're gaining confidence with understanding. You're gaining confidence in just understanding what's happening in the process. Not only that, you said you could tell where you got sick. So you know that maybe the volume was too high, and you can adjust based on, the information that you've gathered. So you're not leaving things up to chance, which I think is where a lot of stress comes from in athletes when they don't control the variables. And which sport is, there's a lot of, when you're live in competition, there's many things out of your control, but you've controlled as much as you can control in the process, and you have a greater understanding of what's happening. And I think that does relieve stress in an athlete and helps with the confidence. And that's why I think it's just such a simple sports psychology 101 concept, but I don't know that that's ever being taught. I'm not aware of that this is a practice that's regular in the United States, that's been taught at a young age all the way through.
Yeah. Even if you're not analytical, and even if you're not a person who is really into analyzing, it is just the process of writing down what you've done increases your confidence.
That's
and the very rational approach to recording what you've done, right, and keeping it for your better understanding of the process of training brings you to the next level of psychological stability. You are focusing on the process of training. You are looking at how you're building up towards each competition, what you're doing. You can look back a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and see exactly what your times on these distances were. You can sit down and say, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for this, I'm not ready for that. I'm making this mistake, fine, I'm embracing it. It's not at the end of the world. That was the reason. I know it. This is what I need to work on in the following cycle of my training. So yeah, that rational, organized, documented approach is your number one step in establishing better psychological strength.
What do you
doing psychological exercises together with physical exercises is the totally new stage of your development. When you start to control your feelings, start to manipulate with your psychological state, when you can calm yourself down, when you can get excited. And again, it's a mixture, an organic integration of exercise, mind exercises, with physical exercises, with food, with drinks, such as you know what calms you down. You learn it from the diaries. This is what you've eaten. This is what you've been drinking. I had chamomile. I had valerian root to calm down. Is it performance enhancement drugs? No, these are natural drinks that, but these are medicinal herbs. Okay. I had coffee. I had coffee before this training. That's what I felt. I didn't sleep well that night. You can see that. Okay. You can see that. And I'm with time. I try to. You try to drink coffee in one way. In another way, then maybe you come up with not drinking coffee, but drinking it only on the day of competition to get excited. Okay, just an example of how your diary can help you to improve and bring yourself into the right psychological state with the time after you start to understand how your psychological state is affected by your training, by your rest, by the food you eat, by the drinks you consume. Are you panicking from drinking coffee? Do you have anxiety from drinking coffee? Do you need to reduce it? Are you too sleepy after drinking chamomile? Are you too sleepy after drinking valerian root or other herbs? But at the same time, constant understanding of what happens in your life. You had a fight with your sister. Was that just before you couldn't compete on the following day? You had a fight with your parents. Is this the second time happened to you before you failed your planned performance? Then that's the reason. You're starting to understand all aspects of your lifestyle through this diary. But again, as you said, the coach must be giving you some pointers, some at the basic level, so that you get into the habit of looking at the right things in your diary.
So Peter, there's a lot of research that has been done throughout history on the science of note taking, and so writing this diary, just how note takers outperform non-note takers in just about anything from if you're looking at police officers that are having to recall information from a crime scene, the encoding that takes place in the brain, the recall of information is, in some studies have shown, and I've read studies on this to help our athletes in the classroom, as much as 80%. So always note takers outperform as far as just comprehension of information. Incoming information can be processed differently, and recall. You're going to outperform just in understanding every single time. So I looked at research that went back 150 years. This was a few years ago, and I thought it was very interesting, from firefighters to witnesses to just conversations, the detail. So if you take the notes, automatically you get to a higher level of understanding automatically. So this is not just happenstance that this was in your development. I believe that in the system they understood this, and this would help your performance automatically. And then again, in the confidence, because they look at test takers, simple quality note takers versus people who sit in class and don't take notes. The confidence is so much higher. So I can see this applying to, and then the stress levels in tests, note takers versus non-note takers. You know, you have the students that sit in class and stare at you versus the ones who are diligent and they're taking notes. If you get that habit, you're just going to perform better in stressful situations because you're going to have a greater understanding. So what we're saying here, I think it's fascinating. I think it's outstanding. As sports psychology 101, maybe the simplest thing that gets overlooked that anyone could do. You don't have to pay a whole lot of money to have a notebook and a pen versus high level apps that people are buying to try to help coach for psychology, which is great, but a simple practice of note taking for the masses, I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, and again, bringing into the lifelong athlete development, the essence of this is continuous, seamless, stressless progression from your first steps in sport to the highest desired level of performance. Okay.
And I want to throw something else that has to do with that long-term athletic development that helps just in their life development. So first of all, Peter, if a coach is helping teach the athlete how to do this properly, how to take good notes, that athlete's going to perform better in their schooling. Okay, because now it's important as an athlete, which they love their sport, and they'll use that habit in the classroom. Now think about as a professional outside of the university, if they go, now they're working in a professional setting. Now they're habitual note takers. They're going to perform better. So you're setting them up long-term athletic development for themselves as an athlete, but as well to be successful in other aspects of life as well.
Yeah. And in the most fundamental aspect of sports psychology, which we mentioned last time, as absence of doubt, that confidence, that focus on a process and ability to disregard irrelevant things that distractors, and you need that, and first of all, okay, that absence of doubt and focus, and when you have this written down here, and you can hold it like this, maybe electronically now it's the same, but it's okay. This is, I'm in control of my long-term development. These are my years of improvement. These are my records of mistakes, and it's okay to make these mistakes, because if I record them and if I understand what I did before I made this mistake, I'm pretty much sure I can avoid this mistake in the future. And this is perhaps the most important competency. So you need those skills, some knowledge, but you need this competency of continuous improvement, continuous correction of your mistakes. This is where it starts. This is how you collect knowledge, collect information that allows you to correct your mistakes, and understanding and realization that you do have all information here. You recorded it with your own hand, with your own comments. You have objective knowledge and you have subjective opinion about it. You have your feelings recorded. You are absolutely sure by having this, that you can improve and go optimize your training process further and improve to the highest possible level, avoiding mistakes, avoiding illnesses. I think one important concept that still might be fringe in the West is that we consider very often we consider programs. We consider 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 1 year program as, and we look at start and end results. And we are putting this emphasis on programs more than on our everyday routine that is not a program. It is your everyday must do. You brush your teeth, you do these exercises every day, you do these relaxation procedures every day. So not only brushing your teeth, making your bed, eat and do other routine, tasks, but going beyond this and making a much longer lists of things to do every day. One of them is keeping your diary. Or this has a huge psychological positive psychological effect on your state of mind. You are organizing your life. You know that if you forget something, it's not a problem. You look it up here. Okay, so that gives you confidence. It's like you have a backup of your memory. You don't need to be panicking if you don't remember something. You record the most important things in your diary, and as a kid, you are a lot more confident and you don't have those doubts that are going to kill your best performance.
So what I like about this, Peter, is, and this is different for our American culture, especially currently, which is entertain me. Kids show up at the time, okay, this is when practice starts, this is when it finishes. The coach is putting me through. I don't really have to think about this. I just go through whatever they tell me to do, and then I go home. Entertain me. This is like watching a movie. This is, I show up to the movie theater, watch the movie, now I'm done. You're saying that's where we, as coaches and athletes here in the West, we think about the program. Spend so much time just locked in on, let's design the program, and the program is from here to here. Okay, this is from A to C, but there's from D to Z. Okay, and teaching the athlete to take ownership of D to Z, okay, where they become empowered. And then once I learn that I can control the process to a greater degree outside of just what's under the coach, I get confidence and developing the right habits because I'm journaling and going through that with my coach. So part of that journal is the coach is teaching you from D to Z throughout your younger years in the long-term athletic development.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do this. Maybe because now they get a look into what your routines are, and routines are so important. That's what you're saying. And the better the athlete's routine, the better the athlete's going to be, and the more confident they're going to be. sports psychology 101. This is like the foundation. So you help the athlete with the routine is what the coaches in the former Soviet Union in your sports schools, they were helping you with the routine throughout the entire day, not just what they spent hard time working on and developing the program that they give you, because that was well thought out as well. Here's the program, but they were helping you to control all the variables that was out really of the coach's control, but they were teaching you to control those variables that was out of their own control through the journaling and the diary.
And looking at your physical and psychological development, not as a program, but as a lifelong process.
Yeah, I see it.
That consists of these little habits. These are the things you learn to continue doing them for life. Focus is on these things, not on things you need to do in order to, like with with diets. Diet is the best example of some of the worst practice that can be contrasted with this long-term athlete development guidelines that we are discussing here. Most of the diets that we have now, that are new diets, I mean, they have particular goals and objectives for you to lose weight or for you to achieve certain things. And instead of just sitting, it's important, but this is a small part of your skills of dieting for life, eating properly, fundamentally properly, and eating having eating habits, okay, rather than diet. It's the same thing with your training and psychological development. What are those psychological control drills that we are now obligated to give to the athletes, so that they are their lifelong skills of psychological growth that never ends? You must be able to fall asleep now. Can you do it? Let me test you. You can't? Let me help you to learn it. But you must be able to fall asleep anytime you need to. You must be able to have a nap anytime, even if you are overexcited, irritated, and you want to go break something. But you must be able to bring yourself to the calming stage. You must bring yourself to the sleeping stage and sleep and have a nap for 15 minutes. I don't know, Jet, what else should be included? This is what should be included in the tests, psychological tests that are emerging together with universal fitness tests that we discussed
now Peter, here's going to be my suggestion. I think, we've went about 50 minutes, close to 50 minutes here right now, just on this one topic. Now I had a plan. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bullet points. We got through one. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I think you're shifting into the concept of stress release, which is great for the psychology, and the sleeping, must be able to fall asleep. And that's one of them that I have here on strategies to get an individual to sleep, to get better sleep, to get better rest for performance. And I think we'll talk about that, as well as maybe like we can tie in breathing, mindfulness, different breathing practices, mindfulness, maybe some different strategies you used for falling asleep as well, because that obviously helps for performance and again, just keeping the athlete relaxed. But to be honest with you, this topic of journaling, that's one topic that is a class period that people don't understand, and they don't and again, there's plenty of science behind note taking, plenty more studies than if you look on Google Scholar, hundreds of studies on note taking versus non-note taking and the benefits of doing so, as far as again just memory recall, and it encodes. It's a higher level because it's called encoding. You encode it into your brain. So by these coaches having you do this, again, you gain confidence and understanding, and they must have known this. So I think this is a good point to stop. And I have an appointment that I have to get to here as well. But there was a lot more that took place on journaling than maybe I anticipated, which is good. I think I think that's an article just in itself. Sports Psychology 101 is really just that basic understanding of what's happening to you, and how you can track and encode what's happening with your athletic career, and maybe coaches working with that athlete to help them to get to a higher level of performance. And it's a process. It's gradualism, and it's consistency, and it's long term, as you could see with your books, how you progressed from basic, just writing down simple facts that you just noted, to more of an understanding of what's happening, and then the strategy and tactics, and doing your own scouting of opponents and your own performance, which is high level. So I love it. I think I don't know about you, Kyle. Kyle hasn't said much, but we only have a few more minutes. Your thoughts on this?
I mean, all I know is that some of the most successful people, whether they learned it or not, knew about note taking and wrote down what they were going to accomplish and made it real. So it's real. It's a real thing, and high level performers do it. I know that for a fact. So
yeah, and maybe it's something that a good article that young athletes and coaches can pick up on, because it's the cheapest form of sports psychology that can be done. Honestly, it's effective, and it might be more effective if you like I said, if you look at the research on note taking, it might be the most researched and most effective method we have for sports psychology. And it's something overlooked. We're not, because it's too simple, Peter. It has to be more complex than this. It has to involve, more technology than this, than a paper and a pen. It has to involve more than this. But in reality, it might be the most effective tool.
Yeah. So maybe if as we're workshopping through discussion, the testing, and other elements of psychology that are simple enough for everybody, and maybe keeping a diary not is one of the things that should be included in a test for every kid as a psychological test. Can you keep a diary? Can you reflect in certain ways in your diary? Can you show us your diary? Tick. Can you fall asleep? Tick. Can you get excited and bring your pulse up? Tick. Can you bring your pulse down and calm down? Tick. So this is simple, but this is at the same time quite complicated and method of sports psychology needed for everyone, and high performance sport must help the
It's-
public
It's not being practiced. I can tell you that I don't know that very many athletes collegiately are practicing this. I don't see it. The best ones do, and I have evidence of this because our best athletes, the ones that have went on to the NFL, they have notebooks and they do this. They're our top ones.